Hello everyone, welcome to Dread. In the heart of the mist-shrouded whispering pines, nestled between ancient oaks and thick underbrush, stood a village frozen in time. Cobblestone streets led to rustic cottages with thatched roofs, their windows adorned with faded curtains that swayed eerily in the slightest breeze. The village, once bustling with life, had succumbed to an unsettling stillness that echoed through its narrow valleys. The villagers were a superstitious lot, their lives governed by age-old customs and unwritten laws. They avoided the woods that bordered their settlement, claiming that the ancient spirits residing there sought revenge for trespasses. For years, the forest and the village existed in a delicate equilibrium, separated by an invisible boundary that no villager dared to cross. One gloomy autumn evening, a stranger named Jonathan arrived in the village, seeking refuge from a torrential downpour. His arrival sent whispers through the tight-knit community, the villagers exchanging weary glances as he strode into the local inn. The broken lantern, the innkeeper, an old man with a long white beard, greeted him with a forced smile, unease evident in his eyes. As the night unfolded, Jonathan tried to engage the villagers in conversation, learning about their customs and folklore. He dismissed their warnings about the forest spirits as mere superstition, believing them to be the product of generations of isolated living. The villagers, however, remained tight-lipped, exchanging furtive glances whenever he inquired about the forbidden woods. Undeterred, Jonathan decided to explore the forest the next day, convinced that the villagers' fears were unfounded. Armed with a map he had procured from the innkeeper, he set out at daybreak, leaving the village behind. The woods were dense and forbidding, the towering trees casting elongated shadows that seemed to reach out for intruders. As Jonathan delved deeper, an unsettling silence enveloped him, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant cawing of unseen crows. Hours passed, and Jonathan lost his sense of direction. The forest seemed to defy logic, with trees rearranging themselves as if to confound any who dared enter. He stumbled upon an ancient clearing, the air heavy with otherworldly energy. In the center stood an ancient oak, its gnarled branches stretching like skeletal fingers toward the heavens. As Jonathan approached the tree, a sudden gust of wind whispered through the branches, carrying with it indistinct voices that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the forest. Unnerved, he retreated, but the whispers followed, growing louder and more insistent. The sun began to set, casting long shadows that danced eerily across the forest floor. Panic gripped Jonathan as he realized he was lost. The once familiar landmarks were now elusive in the dimming light. Desperation set in as he stumbled through the underbrush, the distant sounds of the village drowned out by the haunting symphony of whispers. Back in the village, darkness fell like a heavy shroud, and the innkeeper, anxious, deepened his thoughts. The villagers gathered in the town square, their eyes fixed on the forest, as an ominous energy emanated from its depths. They knew the ancient spirits were awake, disturbed by the stranger's trespass. As the night wore on, the forest unleashed its fury upon Jonathan. Unseen hands seemed to grasp at him, pulling him deeper into the labyrinthine depths. The whispers morphed into anguished cries and haunting wails, as if the very souls of the forest were mourning a disturbance in their sacred realm. In the village, the innkeeper approached a weathered bookshelf in his dimly lit inn. Dust-covered tomes hinted at ancient rituals and forbidden knowledge. With a heavy heart, he retrieved an old leather-bound book, its pages filled with illustrations of spectral figures and dire warnings. As he pored over the text, the innkeeper's eyes widened with realization. The stranger had triggered an ancient curse, awakening the spirits that had long slumbered in the heart of the whispering pines. According to the tome, the only way to appease the spirits was a ritual performed by the villagers themselves, a ritual long forgotten in the mists of time. With a heavy heart, the innkeeper gathered the villagers, revealing the dire fate that awaited them if they did not act swiftly. Reluctantly, they agreed to perform the ritual. Guided by the cryptic instructions in the ancient tome, the air in the village square crackled with tension as they prepared for the ceremony that would determine the fate of their community. In the heart of the forest, Jonathan's ordeal reached its climax. The whispers transformed into anguished cries, and unseen forces dragged him toward the ancient oak. As he stood in the clearing, the knotted branches began to writhe, their movement synchronized with the villagers' preparations in the distant square. The villagers chanted ancient incantations, their faces etched with a mix of fear and determination. A circle of flickering candles surrounded them, casting eerie shadows on the cobblestone streets. The forest responded to their ritual, its unearthly cries harmonizing with the villagers' chants. As the ritual reached its crescendo, a blinding light enveloped the ancient oak. The air crackled with energy as the spirits, appeased by the villagers' desperate plea, retreated into the depths of the forest once more. The oppressive silence lifted, and the shadows that had gripped the village receded. In the clearing, Jonathan collapsed to the ground, released from the spectral grip that had held him captive. Bewildered and disoriented, he found himself on the outskirts of the Whispering Pines, the village visible in the distance. The memories of the harrowing night blurred, leaving him with a lingering sense of dread. The villagers, exhausted but relieved, gathered in the square as the first light of dawn bathed Whispering Pines. The innkeeper, the ancient tome clutched in his hands, approached Jonathan, who stood on the edge of the village. With a solemn nod, the innkeeper thanked him for unwittingly leading them to the forgotten ritual, saving the village from the wrath of the forest spirits. As the villagers recounted the night's events, a collective decision emerged. They would safeguard the ancient knowledge, ensuring that future generations would remember the ritual that held the Whispering Pines in check. Jonathan, though haunted by the memories of the forest, left the village with the unspoken gratitude of its inhabitants. The village returned to its quiet existence, the cobblestone streets bearing the weight of untold stories and the secrets of the Whispering Pines. The ancient oaks stood as silent sentinels, their twisted branches reaching toward the heavens, guarding the village from the enigmatic depths of the forest that bordered its existence. And so, the tale of Whispering Pines endured, passed down through generations as a cautionary fable. The villagers, ever vigilant, continued to uphold the ancient customs that maintained the delicate balance between the living and the spectral inhabitants of the woods. As the seasons changed and the years rolled on, the shadows of Whispering Pines whispered their timeless secrets to those who dared to listen, forever entwining the fate of the village with the enigmatic depths of the ancient forest. Once nestled deep within the heart of dense woods, surrounded by towering trees that stood as ancient sentinels, lay the small village of Hollow Grove, with its cobblestone streets and quaint cottages. The village seemed like a picture-perfect haven. However, the tranquility masked a dark secret that lingered in the shadows, waiting to be unearthed. The tale began on a fog-laden evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie silhouettes upon the village. The air was thick with an otherworldly chill, and the residents of Hollow Grove hurried indoors, seeking refuge from the encroaching darkness. In the heart of the village stood an imposing mansion known as Ravenwood Manor. It loomed over Hollow Grove like a silent guardian, its dark windows reflecting the ghostly glow of the moon. Locals spoke of its cursed history, recounting tales of a long-forgotten family that had once resided within its ominous walls. As the legend went, the Ravenswood family had been wealthy landowners, their influence stretching back for generations. However, their prosperity came at a grave cost. Whispers of dark rituals and pacts with malevolent forces surrounded the family, and soon the villagers began to distance themselves from Ravenwood Manor. The last known heir, Victor Ravenswood, had vanished without a trace, leaving the mansion abandoned and shrouded in an air of mystery. Over the years, Hollow Grove had tried to erase the painful memories associated with Ravenswood Manor, but the unsettling feeling of being watched persisted. One fateful night, a group of adventurous youths from the village decided to explore the long-forgotten mansion, drawn by a mixture of curiosity and the thrill of the unknown. They gathered outside Ravenswood Manor, their breath visible in the chilly air as the creaking gates swung open. The group stepped into the darkened foyer, their flashlights cutting through the thick darkness. The once grand chandeliers hung precariously, swaying with an eerie rhythm as if dancing to an invisible melody. The air inside was heavy, and an unsettling silence wrapped around them like a suffocating shroud. The group cautiously ascended the grand staircase, the floorboards groaning beneath their weight. The mansion seemed to come alive with the whispers of the past, echoing through the empty halls. As they explored room after room, each filled with antique furniture draped in dusty sheets, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. In the heart of the mansion, they discovered a forgotten library, its shelves lined with ancient tomes that spoke of forbidden knowledge. Among the books, a tattered journal caught their attention. It belonged to Victor Ravenswood, the missing heir. The journal revealed Victor's descent into madness, his desperate attempts to uncover the secrets hidden within Ravenswood Manor. Tales of strange apparitions, ghostly whispers, and unexplainable phenomena filled the pages, painting a chilling picture of the mansion's malevolent presence. As the group delved deeper into the mysteries of Ravenswood Manor, strange occurrences began to unfold around Hollow Grove. Villagers reported hearing disembodied whispers in the dead of night, and the once sleepy town square echoed with ghostly footsteps. Shadows danced on the edges of perception, and a sense of dread hung over the village like a shroud. One by one, the members of the exploration group experienced bizarre and terrifying encounters. Sarah, a fearless young woman with a penchant for adventure, became the target of a spectral entity that seemed to be fixated on her every move. Unseen hands tugged at her clothing, and icy fingers brushed against her skin, leaving a trail of numbing cold. David, the group's skeptic, found himself haunted by nightmares that blurred the lines between reality and the supernatural. The boundaries between the waking world and the realm of the unknown began to crumble as he struggled to maintain his sanity. As the group faced the escalating horrors within Ravenswood Manor, they uncovered a hidden passage leading to an underground chamber. Within the dimly lit space, they stumbled upon an ancient altar adorned with sinister symbols. A malevolent force seemed to stir in the air, and the temperature plummeted as a ghostly figure materialized before them. The apparition bore the likeness of Victor Ravenswood, his hollow eyes staring into the souls of the intruders. In a spectral whisper, he revealed the truth behind the curse that plagued Hollow Grove. The Ravenswood family, driven by greed and desperation, had made a pact with a dark entity in exchange for prosperity. The entity, hungry for souls, had ensnared the village in a web of malevolence that transcended time. Realization dawned upon the group as they understood the dire consequences of disturbing the slumbering evil within Ravenswood Manor. The ancient curse had awakened, and the once sleeping shadows now hungered for the souls of Hollow Grove's inhabitants. Desperation fueled their efforts to break the curse. As the group sought guidance from the forgotten pages of Victor's journal, they embarked on a perilous journey through the haunted mansion, solving cryptic puzzles and confronting vengeful spirits that guarded the cursed secrets of Ravenswood Manor. With each revelation, the group learned of a ritual that could banish the malevolent entity once and for all. The ritual required a sacrifice, a willing soul to appease the darkness that clung to Hollow Grove. As the weight of their destiny pressed upon them, the group grappled with the morality of their choices. The village outside the mansion deteriorated further, succumbing to the relentless grip of the curse. The once thriving community now lay in ruins, its streets overgrown with twisted vines and its buildings consumed by an ethereal decay. As the group descended into the final chamber, a haunting melody echoed through the underground passages. The ghostly aura of Victor Ravenswood guided them toward the altar, revealing the sacrificial ritual that could bring an end to the curse. In a moment of heart-wrenching decision, Sarah stepped forward, her eyes filled with determination. She embraced her destiny, sacrificing herself to break the shackles that bound Hollow Grove. The air crackled with energy as the ritual unfolded, and the oppressive darkness that plagued the village began to dissipate. The sacrifice, though tragic, had broken the curse that held Hollow Grove captive for centuries. The once haunted village slowly emerged from the shadows, its buildings restored, and the air infused with newfound life. The memories of the cursed past remained etched into the collective consciousness of the villagers as a somber reminder of the price paid for prosperity. As the sun rose over Hollow Grove, its rays illuminated the once ominous Ravenswood Manor. The mansion stood silent, its secrets buried in the depths of history. The village, though scarred by the horrors of the past, now had the chance to rebuild and forge a new future. However, as the last echoes of the curse faded away, a soft whisper lingered in the air, carrying the bittersweet melody of a long-forgotten piano. The shadows of Ravenswood Manor seemed to stir, as if the spirits of the past were bidding farewell to the village they had haunted for so long. Hollow Grove, once a prisoner of its own history, now stood on the threshold of a new chapter. The tale of Ravenswood Manor would become a cautionary legend, a whispered warning to those who dared to delve into the darkness that lurked within the hearts of seemingly innocent places. In the small village of Ravenswood, nestled deep within the dense woods, there stood a dilapidated mansion that cast a long, eerie shadow over the entire community. The mansion, known as Blackthorn Manor, was rumored to be cursed, and the villagers spoke of strange occurrences that took place within its decaying walls. The village itself had a quaint charm, with cobblestone streets, centuries-old cottages, and a peaceful atmosphere that belied the ominous presence of Blackthorn Manor. The villagers were a tight-knit community, bound by tradition and superstition. Generations had passed since the first whispers of the curse, and yet the stories persisted among the locals. An old man named Elijah was the keeper of the village's dark secrets. He claimed to have witnessed the supernatural events that transpired in Blackthorn Manor firsthand. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the village, Elijah gathered the curious youngsters around a crackling fire in the village square. The air was thick with anticipation as he began his tale. Many years ago, Elijah began, his voice barely more than a whisper, there lived a wealthy family in Blackthorn Manor. The Thorn family was respected and feared, for they dabbled in the forbidden arts. Legend has it that they made a pact with dark forces to secure their fortune. But in return, a curse was placed upon the mansion. The family vanished without a trace, leaving the manor to decay and crumble into ruin. As Elijah spoke, the wind whistled through the ancient trees, creating an eerie accompaniment to his words. The village children huddled closer, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. Since that day, Elijah continued, strange happenings have plagued Ravenswood. People claim to hear whispers in the wind, see shadows moving in the corners of their eyes, and witness ghostly figures wandering the village at night. But the most terrifying tales come from those who dared to enter Blackthorn Manor. The fire crackled as Elijah paused for dramatic effect. The children exchanged nervous glances, their imaginations running wild with thoughts of haunted corridors and malevolent spirits. "One night," Elijah whispered, leaning in closer to his captivated audience, "a group of brave villagers decided to uncover the truth behind the curse. They entered Blackthorn Manor, armed with lanterns and courage, determined to banish the malevolent forces that lurked within. But as they delved deeper into the mansion, the shadows seemed to come alive, whispering ancient incantations that sent shivers down their spines." The moon cast an eerie glow over the village square as Elijah spun his tale, the flickering firelight playing tricks on the faces of the mesmerized children. As the group ventured into the heart of Blackthorn Manor, Elijah continued, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber. Its door creaked open as if inviting them in. Reluctantly, they entered the room, only to find a dusty book lying open on a grand oak table. The pages contained the Thorn family's dark rituals, detailing the pact they had made with a malevolent entity. Elijah's voice grew more intense, his eyes reflecting the ominous glow of the fire. The children sat in rapt attention, hanging on his every word. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them, trapping the villagers in the cursed chamber. The air grew thick with an otherworldly presence, and the book began to levitate, its pages flipping furiously. The ghostly figures of the Thorn family materialized, their eyes hollow and their voices echoing through the chamber. The villagers, paralyzed with fear, realized they had awakened a force beyond their understanding. The village children gasped, their faces pale in the dim firelight. Elijah's tale had transported them to a world of spectral horrors and malevolent entities. The spirits of the Thorn family cursed the intruders, binding their souls to Blackthorn Manor for eternity. Since that fateful night, those who enter the mansion are never seen again. The cursed souls wander the halls, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, forever seeking redemption that eludes them. Elijah fell silent, allowing the weight of his words to settle over the village square. The crackling fire and the distant hoot of an owl were the only sounds that broke the stillness. As the children dispersed, their faces haunted by the tale they had just heard, Elijah remained seated by the dying embers of the fire. He gazed toward the looming silhouette of Blackthorn Manor, his eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and regret. Little did the villagers know that Elijah had his own secrets, and the true nature of the curse that gripped Ravenswood was far darker than any tale he had spun. The Thorn family had not vanished without a trace. They had become something far more sinister, and their malevolent influence extended beyond the crumbling walls of Blackthorn Manor. Over the years, more villagers succumbed to the allure of the forbidden, drawn to the mysteries within Blackthorn Manor like moths to a flame. The once thriving community dwindled, its population haunted by the ghosts of the past. One night, a group of adventurous youths, fueled by a potent mix of curiosity and disbelief, decided to explore Blackthorn Manor. Unbeknownst to them, their actions would set in motion a series of events that would force the village to confront its darkest secrets and the true nature of the curse that bound them. As the moon hung low in the night sky, casting an ethereal glow over Ravenswood, the youths approached Blackthorn Manor with trepidation. The mansion loomed before them, its windows like vacant eyes staring into the abyss. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding, and the very trees seemed to whisper warnings to those who dared to trespass. The group cautiously entered the decaying mansion, their footsteps echoing through the cavernous halls. The air inside was stale, filled with the musty scent of neglect. Cobwebs clung to the corners, and dust motes danced in the dim light that filtered through cracked windows. As the explorers delved deeper into the mansion, the atmosphere grew more oppressive. Strange symbols adorned the walls, and the floor creaked beneath their weight. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon the hidden chamber described in Elijah's tale, a chamber that seemed frozen in time, its secrets waiting to be uncovered. The air grew colder, and a distant murmur filled the room. The group exchanged nervous glances, their breath visible in the chill. The pages of the dusty book on the oak table began to flutter, as if stirred by an unseen force. It was a moment frozen in time, a prelude to the horrors that awaited. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. The sound reverberated through the chamber like a death knell. Panic set in as the group realized they were trapped, just as Elijah had described. The temperature plummeted and the ghostly figures of the Thorne family materialized. Their hollow eyes fixated on the intruders, and a guttural chant filled the chamber, emanating from the very walls themselves. The symbols on the walls glowed with an unnatural light, casting an eerie glow over the room. The youths, paralyzed with fear, watched as the malevolent spirits of the Thorne family advanced. Their spectral forms closed in. In that moment of desperation, one of the youths,